Hey, what is up everyone, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the 2026 Yodobashi Camera High Grade Mystery Box, aka the Fukubukuro. And just in case you don't know what a Fukubukuro is, basically the long and short of it is, every year in January for the new year, companies in Japan tend to release mystery bags. That's basically what Fukubukuro means. Inside of this, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of stuff for a fraction of the price, but the caveat there is, you don't know what you're going to be getting. It is a mystery. And what makes this one even more fun is that it is high-grade kits. So this is a big box that would have cost 15,000 Japanese yen. Now, there are only 60-something of this particular box made, 61 if I'm not mistaken. It costs 15,000 yen, which is about 80 euro or dollars around, and we should be getting a whole lot of Gunpla in here, worth a little bit more than that. That of course is before shipping and handling. Ugh! Either way, this is going to be a whole lot of fun. I cannot wait to see what is inside of it. And if you do want one of your own, there are still some knocking around exactly where I got mine, and that is through Buying. Link is down there in the description, and let's find out what we got and see if it was worth it. So anyway, out of the cling film finally, and this is what the box looks like. I absolutely adore the effort that Yodobashi Camera puts into these boxes. It's kind of the overall traditional kind of look that Fukubukuro have. Of course, this is not a bag, it is a box, and a fairly big box at that. And just in case you're wondering, didn't I see you do this once before? Well, the answer to that is yes, I did the one last year too, which was the one for the Year of the Snake. Now that was an all-inclusive sort of box, so there was high grades, real grades. I'm not sure if there's a master grade. There may have been a master grade inside of it as well as some tools too. Had a bit of an issue with that box because it did get rebounded from leaving Japan because there was a little tiny pot of oil in it, but overall, quite a haul of cool kits inside of it. And like I mentioned, I love the design of these boxes, so I still keep some stuff inside of it. I hold onto the box, it's just that much fun. But speaking of which, it is what is on the inside that counts. Alright, time to get it open. I'm actually seriously excited about this. I was always someone who was not really all that about mystery boxes because I kind of felt like, well, you could just go and buy something, there's no gamble involved then. There might be 50 things inside this box which I already own, or I don't want, or something like that, but I don't know, maybe it's old age or something like that, but, I actually think the whole fun of the mystery unbox kind of just, I don't know, some good crack. Alright, time to open it. Actually, beforehand, just in case you're wondering what this actually says on top, what it says is 2026, as far as I know, again, my Japanese isn't great, Yume no Otoshidama, which is basically dreams of, and otoshidama is basically a kind of Japanese envelope of money that you're given as a kid. So I guess it's that kind of thing. It's a New Year's gift or something in that vein. Also, when it comes to plastic handles and model kits on this channel, when you've got a plastic handle, you are in for a good time. So this should be interesting. So yeah, first up in here is the Godhand glass cutter mat. So yeah, it's a cutting mat in your usual kind of way, but it is made out of glass. Now, I will mention, I have never used a glass cutting mat, even though I do currently have one of these glass cutting mats. I kind of like the rubber because, you can cut through whatever you're cutting. I kind of feel if you're cutting against a hard surface like glass, you're maybe going to dull your blade, you're not going to cut through as deeply as you want. So yeah, when I'm using a cutting mat, I do prefer the usual kind of rubber style. Honestly, if you use a glass cutter mat, let me know. I'm curious as to what the advantages or disadvantages would be about them. Let's check out what's next. Alright, so just reaching on in and grabbing one of the kits in here. First off, we've got the high-grade G-Fred from Gundam G-Quacks. So, as far as I can see so far, this entire box seems to be Gundam G-Quacks themed, which of course was the biggest set of releases from the year when it does come to high grades. They definitely dominated all of what we would have seen. The G-Fred in and of itself is a very good kit too, which kind of has that little bit of an 80s Reebok tracksuit kind of look to the color scheme. What we got from Studio Kara, who did actually do this anime, is a little bit of a kind of collision course between Evangelion and Gundam. And this particular one really does bring in the kind of Eva Unit 1 purple and green color scheme. I do have an entire review about this kit right here. It is very, very nice. Pretty much a parts variant of the high-grade Gundam G-Quacks, which is a great kit too. And yeah, if, well, you hadn't got yourself any G-Quacks kits, love G-Quacks, then this would definitely be a bit of a treasure trove. And speaking of G-Quacks, Also included inside of this box right here is the high-grade G-Quax itself. Again, this is essentially the exact same kit as the G-Fred, with just some different kind of color combinations and a completely different head design, but otherwise essentially the same kind of mobile suit. Again, this was the first release from the G-Quax line, an absolutely different kit to high-grade in general. If you've built a lot of high-grade kits and you haven't built the G-Quax because you're like, well, I don't necessarily like the design or the anime, well, it's worth building just because it doesn't build like any other Gunpla whatsoever. Well, of course, besides the G-Fred, which is identical to, again, review here on the channel if you want to check it out, and another high-grade G-Quax kit. And speaking of another G-Quax kit, what we've got in here is yet another, believe it or not, G-Quax kit. That, of course, being the high-grade Xavier's Gyan Hyakuji packs. Again, another kit I would have built and reviewed on this channel. Another very nice take on a classic kit, being the high-grade Gyan. What am I talking about? It's a nice take on a mobile suit, being the Gyan from Gundam 0079. Again, a very armored kit with some incredibly cool stuff inside of the box, and if you do want to see a review about it, again, there is a review here on the channel. A nice kit, very unique, but a little bit more to, well, normal high-grade standards than you'd get with the G-Quax and the G-Fred. Next up in here, and a little bit of a bigger box, yet another high-grade G-Quax kit. That is the high-grade Gaia Ortega's Rickdom GQ. Now this one, once again, I have built and reviewed before, so if you want to check it out, I'm actually a little bit more excited about than the last two, because as it says here, there's Gaias and Ortegas, so that does mean in the actual anime, like we're seeing right here on the box, there is particularly 2 units. So that does mean building 2 of these is not an entire loss, even if you are straight building them. Once again, great kit, debatably possibly one of the better G-Quax kits out of the whole release. It's big, it's hefty, just like you can kind of guess from the size of the box, so yeah, it does seem, again, heavily dominated by G-Quax kits. So reaching on for what is next, and you get a Godhand nipper, which is pretty cool. This right here is the red version, the GNPH 120. So not the kind of classic Godhand, which is the ultimate nipper that you'd see a lot of people using. This one right here is the, I don't know if it actually has a name. I know there's an ultimate nipper. There is a lightning nipper. This is the Blade 1 nipper. So a lot of times when people do recommend using Godhand kits, they'd say get this one right here because it is a little bit cheaper for snipping off the runners. Even though I find it's perfectly great for actually snipping off the runners as well as taking off the final knob. I use this all of the time. I actually keep it in my secondary build pouch for building Warhammer kits, but it's nice to have a new one because the red handle here kind of dirties up over time a little bit. That's cool. You get a nipper. Next up, what was attached to the last thing, it almost came out with it, and also something that did come inside of the box last year. So something does tell me that the Yodobashi box does seem to be somewhat in collaboration with Godhand, the brand, because there is some tools in here and they seem to be all Godhand related, at least so far. We've had the cutting mat, the Blade 1 nipper, and now this. So I'm not even going to take this out of the box this time because I took a look at it last year. Basically, this is a parts separator. It is a metal parts separator, very sharp one too. Some people don't actually say metal parts separators are particularly good because they can damage your plastic. Usually you use plastic ones not to damage, because if you stick this into your kit, give it a bit of a twist, it can actually mark damage or split the plastic to some degree. Now I do find there is times you do need to reach for a metal parts separator. Sometimes the plastic ones just don't have the strength when 2 parts are absolutely welded together. So there is always a time you do need to grab your metal one, and this has a whole bunch of different kind of edges and surfaces to use to get those particularly stuck parts, well, unstuck. Alright, so as you can see, the box is starting to empty out a little bit, and we do have another kit inside here. So this right here, another high-grade G-Quax kit, and this is the high-grade Zaku from G-Quax. Now, this is a kit I haven't built yet, but I will mention it is a kit I have that I do mean to actually get around to building. But out of all the kind of Zakus they could pop inside of the box, I do feel this is the best one because it is the classic green Zaku and nothing looks better than a whole bunch of them built together. There is multiple options. The only one I actually got around to reviewing this year because these two that you're seeing on the cover came out a little bit late in the year and I didn't get around to them. So I built the police version, which is a pretty cool dark navy blue and police styled version of the Zaku, but we do have the green one, as well as Char's one back there, which I still need to get around to. So that's a pretty cool inclusion. All right, so it's time to reach on in again, and it seems like we've got another Godhand something. Hey, what in the abs... Okay, all right, seriously. What? Again, just kind of flashbacking a little bit to the video I did last year. So I ordered one of these boxes and it got rejected from Japanese customs from leaving the country because it had something inside of it which was considered banned from putting on a flight. And that was a little bottle of oil, because this right here is a maintenance kit for maintaining your Godhand nippers, or any nippers. It's got a brush and some oil to basically keep them from rusting up and keep them nice and squeaky clean. This one did not get bounced this year. And I didn't get any kind of mention of anything being removed. And if the oil is in here, I'm going to absolutely fucking laugh. Let's see. Give it a shake. What in the actual shit? Someone in Japanese customs is not doing their job. Maybe it's because I sent it by courier this time. Oh, anyway, cool. I was actually sad I didn't get that last year. My God hands are going to get a nice oiling up. All right, reaching on in for the last... Oh no, there's a couple more things down in the corner, so we'll see what we've gotten here. And this, once again, is quite similar to something we would have seen before. So this right here is a spray trigger for spray cans. So I'm guessing it's something you can pop on the top of a can, and it will help you spray it. Honestly, that does sound a little bit on the handy side. When I'm priming a lot of Warhammer or top coating a lot of Gundam kits, kind of squeeing down the top of the handle can get a little bit tiring on the old finger, so actually doing something like this does seem like it would be a little bit more comfortable. Let's have a quick old peek at what it does look like. Looks like a simple sort of thing. Almost looks like something you could 3D print, honestly. Yeah, it just seems to be a kind of simple little mechanism. It's got a little bit of a trigger right here, which just does the kind of spray action up here, grabs around the neck of the bottle here. And overall, that's quite cool. I'm going to grab a can. This right here is a can of Mr. Hobby matte top coat. Of course, this did not come inside of the box. This one still seems to be kind of sealed. Rip them on open. So yeah, it seems like this does grab onto the neck of the can like so, and then just gives it a bit of a spray. I'm not sure what the compatibility overall with cans are, if all cans are the same or not, but that's an interesting inclusion. All right, so reaching on in for the last couple of things in here, and next up we've got what looks to be a makeup brush, but what it says is builder's brush. Well, okay. So yeah, it seems like this right here is a builder's brush L size from a company called Etsumi. And it says down the side there that this is made out of nylon. It says you can use it on your displays as well as your plastic models, and it's a brush for basically dusting your kits, which is something I should get around to. I dropped it. But yeah, how this is any real... Oh, wait. Okay, never mind. This doesn't really feel like a makeup brush. This is a lot kind of softer. In my non-professional opinion. I guess it's so you can grab your kit and give it an old brushy, and it is very soft. So I've actually used some makeup brushes before in an attempt to dust off my Gundam kits. And you might flick off a V-fin or something tiny, then here go da-da-da-da-da across the floor to the other side of the room, which... If your floor is like my floor, it's covered in nubs and plastic bits, which it's hard to tell plastic bits from, especially if the front of a V-fin comes off. It's kind of cool. Honestly, it's like something I'd forget to just buy regularly, so I'll have to give it a go sometime. A lot of times. Clean things up a bit. There's an envelope down here. Feels like there's something in it. Alright, pulling it out, and it's just a warranty card, it seems, for the entire box. Basically says if things are not as they should be satisfactory-wise, just bring it back to Yodobashi Camera and present them with this card. Now, it's not like I need it. Alright, so finally grabbing the last thing out of the box, and that's this right here, which seems to be a glass file. Yes, a nano glass file by a company called Doyusha, which is the exact same company that little kind of spray can trigger came from. I've actually got a few things by them, including a kind of workstation little thing that will catch all your little nubs from falling out of. So this is pretty cool. I've only ever used the glass file by Gun Primer, so it'll be interesting to see what this one is like. Seems a little bit longer, kind of more typically like a glass nail file, honestly. And to some degree seems like a little bit more of a handier shape as well, depending on the particular job you're, well, working on. Always handy to have one of these because it does take away your knobs without leaving any kind of scratches or marks. So it's one of the fastest ways, really, to deal with knobs quickly. So anyway, there is absolutely everything that did come inside of the 2026 Yodobashi Camera high-grade Fukubukuro. Now I went off and crunched some numbers, and this is the conclusion I came to. Kind of wondering whether or not this box right here, is it worth it or is it not? Now, what we get inside the box is 12 items in total, 7 of which are non-model kits, so some tools, 5 of which are model kits. When it does come to the overall cost, the model kits in here, if all sold at retail price, would be 13,640 yen. So the box itself retail is 15,000 yen, so you're almost there just on model kits itself. Whether or not these would be worth it or not to you would depend on if you have these kits already or your general interest in G-Quacks. Now, I love G-Quacks, but I've built pretty much all of them already. But 13,640 is not too bad when it comes to just model kits themselves. Now, when it does come to the tools that are included inside this box, we got 7 items in total, including a very nice Godhand nipper. Now, the total of the price of all of these items, if sold again at retail price individually added up, they would come to 14,120 yen. The most expensive object inside the box, of course, being the Godhand 120, which retails at 5,940 yen. Some of the items are a little bit on the cheaper side, like the Afilliate 990 yen, but I'll pop up all the prices on the screen so you can see what everything did end up costing. So again, that is a nice little set of tools too. You've got what you need to snip them out, you've got what you need to file them down, and to blow away the excess dust. Overall, not too bad. So that does mean the combined total of all of the tools plus all of the model kits inside this high-grade Fukubukuro is 27,760 yen. So that is 12,760 yen more than the actual asking price. So again, I will pop up the actual... Nah, sure, screw it. You might be listening, not watching, so I'll tell you the dollar and euro values. So after going through some currency conversions, when it comes to actually buying this box in Yodobashi, if you actually won the lottery, because this was a lottery prize, you had to apply to win to pay for it. So if you did actually do that and you were paying in dollars, this box would have cost you $94. Inside the box then you get $90 worth of tools, and $86 worth of kits, for a grand total of $176 worth of stuff for your $94. Now, if you're from Europe like I am and you're paying in euro, then that price would have been €81 for the entire box. Tools would have been €76 worth. Kits would have been €73 worth, for a grand total of €149 for the contained value. Now, I actually bought this through a reseller because of course you can't buy from Yodobashi directly unless you walk in their door and win the lottery. I also had it sent via courier and had to pay Irish taxes on it, so this cost upwards of maybe around the €300 zone. So for me, totally not worth it. For the fun, kind of fun, but I have the kits already, so like, absolutely not worth it whatsoever. Not a bit. However, you know, it was worth it for the crack. Anyway, I do have the other box as well, the master grade version. I'm going to be cracking that open very soon, so make sure to come back for that one. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla and Gundam videos, and I'll see you next time. Once again, as usual, I cannot finish this video right here without special thanks to those people over on the channel memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Dismas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, RG59061, Scotty Thomas, Simon, and Van Fawn.